Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the series on SAP CAP for ABAP developers or for people who are new to SAP CAP. So right now we are on step 5. In the previous session, we had created a local entity named customers. We added 2 additional fields in addition to the fields that were present in the Northwind customers. They were the s4CutsomerId and also the orders association. But those 2 fields, those 2 additional fields, were not populated. So in this session, we are going to populate one of the field, which is the s4CutsomerId. Okay, so let's see how we can go about doing this. But before we do that, I want to give you a quick intro to JavaScript, less than 2-3 minute introduction. So in ABAP, if you're coming from the ABAP background, then you pretty much every time you declare a data type or you declare a variable, you have to specify the data type. But whereas in JavaScript, it's so much more simpler. You don't have to specify the data type. JavaScript will automatically figure it out. So we have 2 different types of data types. One is the primitive data type. So these are some examples of a primitive data type. So here we have a variable named name with the value Milton. So this is a string because it is enclosed in double quotes or single quotes. It can be single quotes as well. Age, this is a number. This is the Boolean. And this is undefined. So we have the variable defined here, but we don't have an initial value, which means this is undefined. And here we have the variable, but we have defined it, we have given it an initial value of null, which is a keyword. So null is a keyword here. So these are all primitive data types. Now you also have reference data types. So you have, this is an object. You can see it's a key value pair. And this is an array. So this is an array of strings. And you also have a function. These are some of the data types that you should be aware of in JavaScript. So if I actually go to an application here, now, what you will typically have when you're working with an SAP CAP project is you will have something like an array of objects. Now, you can think of this as an internal table. So if you're coming from the SAP ABAP background, you can think of an array of objects as an internal or a standard internal table. And there are a lot of methods that you can apply on this array, just like you would on a standard internal table. And let's assume that we want to go ahead and add another field to this array of objects. Right now we have hobby and skill level, but let's say we also want to add a rating to this array of objects. Now, if you're new to JavaScript, then you're probably not sure how to go about doing this. But in today's world, with ChatGPT and everything, is so much more simpler. So what I have here is I have some kind of a prompt. So in my prompt, I'm going to say, hey, given this array, so I just want to add a new rating field to the objects. Now, the thing with SAP, with JavaScript, is that JavaScript is widely used even outside of SAP, right? So the ChatGPT, and it's like we saw in session 1 how popular JavaScript is. So most of the prompts that you supply to ChatGPT or Copilot, Microsoft Copilot or GitHub Copilot, whatever you want to use, they will pretty much give you really good answers. These ChatGPTs, they may not be proficient with providing SAP ABAP code, but when it comes to JavaScript code, they're pretty much right on target, or at least close enough. So you can simply use it right away. So here it's giving me this this code snippet here. So all I needed to do is I just say hobbies.for each, and then I give a rating, and here it's defining the rating as 5. So if I copy this code right here, and if I go back to my app here, and if I go ahead and put this in here, now if I do a console.log, which is just to go ahead and print out hobbies, hobbies now will have a, it's going to have a new field called rating, and this rating will have the value of 5. So if I now do npm start, so I type in npm start, this should give me a new hobbies. This should give me the hobbies. You can see that it has a new field, a rating as 5. So just a quick, so for each, it's going to iterate through this array. And for each hobby, for each of the hobbies, we are going to add this new field called rating with a value of 5. So fairly straightforward. And we were able to verbatim copy and paste this from the code snippet. So if I go back to my slide deck, so what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and do the custom read handler. And this is what I want to do. So I want to read the local customer's entity, but this is a pass-through. We already talked about this in the previous session. So we have a custom read handler. What we are going to do is we are going to read from the Northwind customers. So we can use the CDS query language async await, and we can use that select from. And once we read the customers, then we are going to loop through all the customers. And for each customer, we are also going to do another select statement from the mapping table. And here we are going to have a where clause passing in the NW customer ID. So let's have a quick look at the code so that it makes it easier. So my read statement is going to look something like this. Let me go ahead, comment this out. This is and I'm going to uncomment this line of code right here. So what am I doing here? So I'm going to read everything from the Northwind customers. So this is my step 1. So I'm going to read everything from Northwind customers, and this is the code right here. We do a select dot from Northwind customers. So this is going to read all the rows from the Northwind customers from the remote API. Now we already saw the for each in the previous example. So I'm going to loop through this customers. So however many rows there are, I'm going to loop through each of the customer. And for each customer, I'm going to go to this this table right here. So we have the mapping customers, and it looks something like this. You have the this table looks something like this. So I'm going to go through this table. I'm going to do a select statement, but I'm only going to select one row. And I'm going for, let's say I start with this customer ID. So I'm going to give this customer ID and find this this S4 customer ID. So I'm going to do a select one because I just want one, and I need to do a where clause. So I'm passing in this customer ID, and this is going to give me this just this one row. And I'm doing this select statement. So now I get this entire row right here, row 1. I get this row 1. And then I'm going to say customer.s4 customer ID equals, just like in a structure in ABAP, you can retrieve the field. So we are doing it with this dot syntax. I believe in ABAP you will use the tildes or the different syntax. Okay, so now we have populated the S4 customer ID. So if I run this, if I do CDS watch, then what I should do is I should be able to get the S4 customer ID. So if I run this, so if I go ahead and run this customers, I should get the S4 customer ID as well. So here I should see the S4 customer ID, and you can see that it is reading it from the mapping table, which is right here. So we're able to get the S4 customer ID. But now there is a better way of doing this as well. So here, what we are doing is for each customer, as we loop through each customer, we are doing a select statement. So if I go back to my code here, as we are going through each customer, we are doing a select, and we are selecting it from this table right here. Now, this is a local table, so the performance it is not so bad, but let's assume that here you're going to do a select, but from a remote service. So this is going to be an expensive operation. So we really don't want to do this. So we could do it in a slightly better way. So I'm going to comment this code out. And I'm going to go back to my slide deck. And the way I can do it better is using this approach. So again, here we are going to read the uh, the internal, the local customers table, but this is going to be a pass-through. So we have a custom read handler. And in the custom read handler, I'm going to do two things right off the bat. I'm going to read all the data from Northwind customers, and I'm also going to read all the rows from the mapping customers as well. I'm going to read all this into memory as well. So I now have both the customers, Northwind customers, and also the mapping table in memory. So now I don't have to go to the database at all, but I have both of them in memory. Now that I have both of them in memory, I can loop through the customers and simply select this just from memory instead of making a call to the database. So how do I do this part, right? Again, we can simply use ChatGPT for help. So I have another prompt right here. So this is going to be my mappings table. So if you look at my mappings table, that's the fields that I have, S4 customer ID and NW customer ID. So this is the two fields I have. And I've just give some values here. So this mappings table is going to look like this. How can I find the SW customer ID for a given customer ID? So if I take this and I go to my ChatGPT, again, you can use the Microsoft Copilot or what have you, and then you put that in, and this is going to give you pretty much a code that you can pretty much copy and paste. There may be some small mistakes, but it looks like it's good here. So what you can do is you can simply copy this line here, and that's what I have done here. So if I go back to my code, then I can go to my service.js file. I have this line of code here. So I can pretty much copy and paste the code here. So that's what I'm going to do here. So here I would have to say customer.customerID because this is the structure, and we are going to use the customer ID here. So now that I have this code right here, everything looks good to me. So if I go into the request, what I can do is I can go ahead and run the same request. And this time I should get the customer ID as well. So we're getting the same customer ID. It's just that this time we are just reading it from memory. And this will give you a performance boost if you're going to be connecting to a remote service. In our case, we are reading it from a local entity, so the performance boost is not going to be that great. Okay, thank you. So we will see you in the next session. Thanks.